Hey guys, Cody here with Import Image Racing. Today we're going to be installing this Noble F1 light into the 2022 WRX. We have been getting flooded with messages and emails asking if this is compatible with the new WRX, so today we are going to install it and show you how to get it to work on your 2022 WRX. Now this is not a plug-and-play solution just yet. We're going to show you how to hardwire this into the vehicle. It's really not that difficult and it's nowhere near as scary as it sounds. So while we are working on making a plug-and-play wiring harness for the kit, this is a great solution for you guys who are really wanting to get one installed in your car and you don't want to wait the couple of months it might take to get the harness. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right into this. I'm going to show you guys how to install this thing. So when you guys get your Noble rear F1 or fog light, it's going to come in this box. It's going to be a lot more organized than this. I've already taken everything out, but it's going to come with your Noble F1 light. It's going to come with a metal bracket, a little bag with some hardware, as well as this wiring harness that you're going to see. And one final thing, which is the plug and play harness for the 15 to 21 WRX and STI. You're not going to need this. You can throw it out or keep it, and maybe you'll have a use for it down the road, but we're not going to be able to use this on the 2022 WRX because this is not going to plug in. First thing we need to do is pop the trunk. Now on your taillight in the trunk jam, you're going to see this little pop clip. Take a Phillips head screwdriver, and you might have to kind of hold it still with your finger and pull that out. It's just a little plastic retainer clip. You can remove that. Now we can take a pry tool and pop this cover out. You're gonna see two 10mm bolts in here. Remove those. Once those are removed, you can pull the taillight out of the housing and unplug it. Sit your taillight aside. You can sit it in the trunk, just put it somewhere safe for now. We're not gonna need that for a while. Now locate the harness that came with the fog light. It's gonna be a really long wire that has some black sheeting on it. I'm gonna leave the end with the black sheeting to go down to the fog light, and this end here is going to be the end that we're gonna wire up to the harness. So we're gonna actually cut this. So you can take a pair of cutters and just cut this connector right off. We no longer need it. Now we can strip all three of these and expose the bare wire. All right, once you have some bare wire exposed, you can actually take this now and feed this down through the bumper. You can see the taillight harness here, and a little bit to the left of that, you can see this light reflecting up, and you'll actually maybe see my flashlight down there. That hole right there leads directly down to the ground. So I'm going to feed that down. So I just had to reach up in there. It was actually sitting right on this part of the bumper, and I just pulled it down. Now this might be the scary part for some of you guys. Me, I'm used to cutting stuff up all the time, so I'm not too worried here, but this is your factory wiring harness. You're gonna have this factory wire loom coming up, and we're just gonna go ahead and cut it. You can use some scissors, you can use a razor blade. Just try to not cut the wires themselves. Once you start getting that down, you can kind of just continue with it. Okay, now you can actually pull these wires out. You're gonna see some tape on them. We're gonna unravel the tape. And I'm gonna pull the tape down like that. Now this should leave us enough exposed wire that we can do what we gotta do. Now with each wire, I'm gonna attempt to show you a different method on how you can do this. You can kind of do it however you want, but the three wires that we're concerned with here are the brown wire, the light blue wire, and the black wire. So those are the three wires that we're gonna need to keep away from those two. So when you're cutting these wires, you don't want to cut them really close to the connector or you won't have enough room to do your work. So you want to try and cut closer to the harness and leave a good bit of wire on the connector itself. So go ahead, cut the black wire, the light blue wire, and the brown wire. Now we are going to strip off a little bit of the black wire on the OEM harness. And we're going to strip off a little bit of the black wire on the plug connector. We'll do that with all three wires. We have our black wire here, we have our brown wire in the middle, and our light blue down here. We have the same three there on the factory connector. We can grab our fog light harness. We're going to take the black wire and we're going to connect that with this black wire on the harness. Now what you can do is take these two wires together, and the first method I'm going to show you is not my favorite method, but it's a simple method you can use. Take these two wires, twist them together, and then we can bring this other wire down and actually bring it parallel to these first two wires, and we can twist this with these two wires. So we're twisting all three wires side by side together. And then you can grab a wire nut, and this is an automotive wire nut, so it's very small. We can put that over top of those 3 black wires and twist it on. Again, this is not my preferred method because moisture can get in there, damage the wires, and you know, it's not the most effective. I mean, it works great, it's easy, you don't have to worry about, you know, soldering or heat shrinking or anything, but there is some drawbacks to that method. If you are wondering about the wire tap method, I would not recommend that. Usually it has a very poor connection to the stock wire. When you put that wire tap on and you connect it and you crimp it down, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work right, and you're gonna have issues down the road, even if it does work right the first time you do it. So now you have your black wires all connected. Now we can take the red wire and we're gonna connect that red wire to the brown wire on the harness. Now this method I'm gonna take both of these wires, the red and the brown, on the harness. Then we're gonna take the brown wire on the harness, and this method is going to be crimping. So we're gonna take this connector, this is a wire crimp, we're gonna slide that through, and then we're gonna take this brown wire, twist it up a little bit to kind of reinforce it. And then we're gonna take that brown wire and we are going to slide it through the other side of this connector. And we can take some wire crimpers or even pliers if you have them, and we can crimp those together. So you'll just squeeze that. And now our wires are crimped together inside of this connection. So now I've undone both connections. I'm gonna do this the way that I prefer, and it's the final method I'm gonna show you, which is just heat shrinking. You can solder them this way as well. You can twist them together, solder them, and then heat shrink them, or you can just twist them and heat shrink them however you like. But if it's not your preferred wire method, you can, you know, obviously do it your preferred way. For the final connection, we're gonna take our light blue wire on the factory taillight harness and our blue wire from the Noble harness. We're gonna twist those two together. Now I'm gonna take the light blue wire on the connector. I'm gonna kind of twist this to organize these wires and then run it through this heat shrink wrap. Now I'm gonna run this up against this wire and I'm gonna twist these together. And now I'm going to take the heat shrink and run that over top of these twisted wires. And now you can use a heat gun or a lighter or anything that you have that's a heat source and just heat up that heat shrink, and it's going to contract and weatherproof our connection there. Okay guys, so a really quick recap. We have the black wire going to the black wire on the factory connector. We have the red wire going to the brown wire on the factory connector. And we have the blue wire going to the light blue wire on the factory connector. Our wiring is finally complete. We can kind of tuck this back into this wire loom if we want to. We could actually tape all of this wiring up with some electrical tape. The final thing I'm gonna do once all these are in this harness, I'm gonna connect them with a zip tie just to keep this all nice and neat. Once that's tightened down, I'm gonna trim off the excess. And we are all done. We can put the taillight back in and plug it in. If for some reason you have any issues when trying to put your taillight back in where this section here does not want to push in, you can actually pull this back out, spin this around. This clip has a correct orientation, and if it's not facing the correct orientation, it won't go in. So you're gonna want this little pointy section, which is sort of like an arrow pointing, to be facing frontward or towards the side of the taillight. We're gonna slide this back into place. Reinstall these two 10mm bolts. Reinstall our trim panel, and reinstall our plastic clip. So now the fun part, the part you've been waiting for, installing the fog light itself. So we are going to go underneath the bumper here. On the underside of the bumper, you're gonna see 4 clips. There's one here, 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 and here. Go ahead and pop those out. After removing those 4 clips down here, and you're going to see your factory cover. To remove this, there's 2 little tabs up top we're gonna push in. Then you are going to be provided with this little screw insert. We're going to slide that over with the threads facing the inside. So we'll slide that on this side over this hole on this side here. So after you have that threaded insert on the back of the bumper, you're going to find this little metal bracket. Take your fog light and take this metal bracket, and you'll see the 2 threaded inserts on the back of the fog light and the harness coming downwards. You're going to want to take these pointed ends facing downwards towards that harness and insert that onto the back of this fog light, and then use your supplied hardware. With the bracket tightened down, it should look like this. So pull down on the bumper again and install the fog light through the back side. you are going to want the metal bracket to go on the outside of these plastic tabs, like so. And then these little metal tabs coming off the bracket should be resting on the bumper as well. Now the top hole up here, we are going to install our provided pop clip. And then on this side over here with that threaded insert, we'll install the last bolt. Now we can grab the harness that we dropped down from the bumper earlier and plug this in. Now there's actually some holes down here on these tab brackets that you could zip tie this to if you want, or you could kind of do what I'm about to do here. I'm going to loop this wire up over this and then install the tab back in. That way this wire doesn't move around. So now that wire can move around a little bit, but it's not going to come out from under the bumper. I'm going to reinstall all the rest of the pop clips. Peel the plastic off of your Noble light and we are good to go. So get into the car and enjoy your new fog light. As you are driving around, your fog light will stay on as a running light. And then when you hit your brakes, it's going to come on and flash as a brake function. Now there is a 5-second delay in between flashing. So when you let off the brake and hit the brake again, as you're in traffic moving, in a slow traffic pace, you don't want to be flashing your rear fog light at everybody, and it'll only flash every 5 seconds. So if we wait 5 seconds and we hit the brake again, it should flash now. Well guys, that's it for the Noble F1 light install. I'm going to leave a direct link in the description of the video to pick one of these up yourself. That way the wiring is exactly the same as I showed you in the video, and the functions and everything, you're going to be getting exactly what you see here, and you'll have no surprises. This is a great mod to have. It looks really nice, and to be honest with you, with all the distracted drivers on the roads these days, this could really save you. Someone's texting and driving and you hit your brakes and they see that flashing, it draws their attention. That's why a lot of manufacturers are actually implementing them into the third brake lights now from factory. So just something to keep in mind. It looks really great. It's a nice upgrade and kind of breaks up some of this giant rear bumper here. So thanks for watching today's video, guys. We'll see you in the next one.